Hello, my name is Juliana and welcome to our Senior Engineering Design Day project. Our project is for bioaviation fuel for jet engines that was created by this amazing team consisting of Eugenio, Dorian, Osama, and myself.
And this is our poster, and we are gonna go more in depth into every slide.
Why biojet fuel? In the last 6 years, the demand for aviation fuels has gradually increased, therefore increasing the global greenhouse gas emissions. Standard jet fuel is made from fossil fuels, and as you can see in the pie chart, these fuels in commercial airplanes and business jets contribute to 10% of the US transportation emissions alone. On average, there are 3.16 kilograms of CO2 produced for every kilogram of fuel burned. Our main objective is to develop an efficient, sustainable, low-carbon jet fuel for modern jet engines. The goal to find the best EROI, which means energy returns on investment and still be efficient. The biggest criteria in our project is to lower net emissions compared to conventional jet fuels. We chose algae as our feedstock mainly because it consumes CO2 to grow, which can be seen in the image. This inherently reduced the greenhouse gas emissions of our whole process. Algae does not compete with the human food and resources the way other feedstocks do, which makes it more sustainable feedstock.
Next, we are going to talk about the materials and methods. This project relied extensively on software to help with our calculations, which included kinetics, energy balances, and adjusted parameters. We used MATLAB to simulate all of the reactors used in our process. Two examples of these simulations can be seen in the graphs below. The first shows the growth of the algae based on different nutrients that can be found in wastewater. Since the algae is the starting point of our whole process, it was important to maximize the amount that could be sent to the process. The second simulation shows the packed bed reactor used for the dehydration reaction. The amount of desired product produced from this reaction was found to mainly rely on the amount of catalyst used in the reactor. This trend was found for all of the packed bed reactors used in the process, which is why we considered the amount of catalyst one of the main variables we adjusted. All of these parameters in the simulations were optimized through trial and error, as well as recommendations and results from other industrial processes. We also used Aspen Plus to simulate the two distillation columns we had within our process. From these simulations, we also obtained the energy balances of the distillation columns, and then we used Excel to calculate the other energy balances in the process, as well as the cost analysis.
Now with the groundwork set, we can talk on the results. The process is scheduled to produce 6,533 gallons of fuel per year, and the annual cost of materials is approximately $2.5 million, with annual sales of approximately $150,000. Next, we'd like to talk about our PFD. For the sake of space, this poster only shows the photobioreactors within the process because we felt that was the most unique part of it. We begin with 3 different photobioreactors to grow the algae in. These bioreactors will take in wastewater and CO2, which we are hoping to obtain from other large industrial plants. The 3 reactors are all in different stages of the growing process, including the growing stage, the nutrient starvation stage, which converts some of the proteins in the algae to carbohydrates, and a PBR feeding the algae to the rest of the process. After cultivating the algae, we must separate all of the nutrients from the plant with a membrane, such as the lipids and proteins, which we will not be using. Then we begin a pre-treatment of hydrolysis and fermentation. This kills the algae and turns the carbohydrates into glucose, and then finally turning them into ethanol. We then filter out any remaining biomass and water through a distillation column and send the ethanol to a dehydration to make ethylene. We have to again remove byproducts through a distillation column before oligomerizing the ethylene to make large chained carbons. Finally, after oligomerization, We add hydrogen to the carbon chains to break the double bonds, finishing with large alkanes for our jet fuel.
Lastly, for our conclusions. In the first graph, we can see the cumulative present value from the start of the project to 20 years into production. This takes into account that the first year of the project there will be no sales, since the plant will be under construction. As we see in the graph, it does not matter how much time passes by, the project will not be profitable since the yearly sales will not change throughout their years. The reason why this project is not profitable and there are many losses is due to the fact that there are many reactors and processes involved in converting algae to biofuel. And after every reactor, the yield of the product will continue to be less and less. We can see in the second graph that there is a feed to product mass yield per equipment for every single day. The process starts with about 590 kilograms of algae per day, and after the whole process is completed and it goes through all of the equipment, it will be finished with a result of 55 kilograms of aviation fuel. Two of the variables that can change in the future to make this project a little bit less non-profitable are that the government gives more money for biofuel production or that the price for jet fuel increases. One of the biggest hazards that can affect the process is that we are using wastewater in the photobioreactor. And if there is any biological contamination or the amount of nutrients are different that we have planned for, it can turn the whole batch unusable. Since we are working with biofuels, this normally contains large carbon chain compounds, and these are normally challenging to cleanse if a spill were to occur. Lastly, and most dangerously, we are working with extremely flammable chemicals, so if any fire hazard were to occur, it could damage all of the reactors and there might be a chance of this producing an explosion. So safety measures have been made to avoid any type of fire hazards happening in the operational plant.
For our supporting material, as already mentioned in the materials and methods section, we used MATLAB to simulate all of our reactors in our process. We use Excel for the cost analysis and our energy balances, and then we also use Aspen Plus for the distillation columns in our process. So here are the references we used for this video. Thank you for taking the time to listen about our project. We hope you enjoyed it.